Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, the following shows four diagrams with two parallel lines that are cut by a transversal line. Which of the following statements is true about that diagram? Okay, so we're looking for a true statement, right? And I do see that the lines are parallel and they're cut by a transversal line. So I want you to come back and go back and start thinking about anything that you remember about parallel lines cut by a transversal, because there's a series of angles that are related to each other when we talk about these special kind of parallel lines with a transversal. Okay, so for beginners, what I want you to do is I want you to highlight my parallel lines, right? So let's go ahead and highlight the parallel lines for all of them, right? Once I do that, I want you to notice that there's some angles that kind of like stay within the parallel lines and some angles that are like on the outside of the parallel lines. Let's go ahead and highlight that transversal before we actually look at my angles. So I'm going to do that for all of my pictures, okay? And now I want you to look at the very first one. And what I want you to see is that there is an angle 68 degrees, but that 68 degrees, notice how it's not on the same side of the transversal, right? It's kind of like on the opposite sides, right? And they're not on the inside of the parallel lines, but it's on the outside. So that kind of angle is called alternate exterior angle. Okay, now it's called exterior because it's kind of like on the outside of the parallel lines, and it's called alternate because they're not on the same side of the transversal. Okay, now what about 124? What do you notice about these angles? Are they on the outside of the parallel lines? They're not, right? They're on the inside. But what about, are they on the same side of the transversal? They're not, right? They're on opposite sides. So we call this one alternate. Remember that? And these are actually interior angles. I'm gonna shorten angles like that, okay? But notice how they're congruent, right? 68 was the same 68. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Now, what about that 35? There's a 35 and there's a 35. What name would you give them? The first one, are they exterior or interior? They're exterior, right? Okay, and we call it alternate. Very good. Angles. What about, and they're still equal, right? 35 and 35. What about the last one? So I can see this as 38. And this one is also on, are those two angles on the outside of the parallel lines or inside? They're on the inside, right? So we call it what? Interior angles. Are they on the same side of the transversal? No, so that's what we call it alternate. And they are congruent because that's what we notice in all of them. So what do you know about angle T? Then angle T has to be also 38 degrees. Very good. Okay, so let's look at the answer choices. It says letter A. The angle T is 52. Is that true? Nope, it's not 52, so this cannot be my answer. I know that it has to be 38, right? We said. Letter B. The angle T is 38 degrees. That is true because it's a supplementary angle to the angle of the, are we talking about supplementary angles here? No, right? We're not talking about supplementary angles, so no, that cannot be my answer. Letter C. The angle T is 142. No, we're not talking about 142, right? We know that the angle T has to be congruent to the angle that was given to us, which is 38 degrees, okay? So letter D, the angle T is 38 degrees because it's what? Look what it says. It's the alternate interior angles. Is the angle of 38, and these angles are what? Congruent. Very good. That's what we said, right? So my answer has to be yes, it is letter D. So these are some of the things that I will suggest for you guys to memorize, right?